Extraction shooters as a genre are difficult to get right. The genre is, in and of itself, hardcore in nature. While some titles lean into the hardcore aspects to the fullest extent in both mechanics and aesthetics, ArdyIRL chooses to go the other direction and allows players to explore its unique post-apocalyptic setting with the high stakes that come with the extraction genre, but in a way that still rewards players for their time spent topside. I got to talk to the devs about it, and in this video, I'm going to tell you everything. My name is Ardy, and while I am a full-time esports coach and caster for the finals, I'm allowed to enjoy games that aren't competitive from time to time, and ArdyIRL is one that I've been looking forward to for a very long time. I had the pleasure of hosting the ArdyIRL dev panel at TwitchCon during the Server Slam, and over the weekend in San Diego, I got to know the developers quite well. And in our talks about the development of ArdyIRL, decisions made in the design, tone, and structure of the game, I learned so many fascinating things that shaped the way that I view not only ArdyIRL, but PvPvE extraction shooters as a whole. Disclaimer that while I have done contracted work with Embark Studios as a host for the finals and the panel at TwitchCon, this video is not sponsored by Embark, and I am not a part of their creator program. In fact, I actually purchased the game with my own money, so these thoughts are my own. And while I did get invited to play the game early during the press preview event last week, I was unavailable for the short session window. So the footage that you're seeing here is from Embark Studios and my friend Macro. You can check out his channel linked just below the like button. With all that out of the way, ArdyIRL is finally here. Let me tell you why it's special and what I learned from the devs. When it comes to understanding the gameplay loop of extraction shooters, you have two segments to talk about. The first segment is based around your persistent inventory, your individual character progression, traders, quests, etc. The second segment is the gameplay in the raids themselves. Limited resources like meds and ammo, sharing carrying capacity between those limited resources and the rare items that you loot, and the pressure that you're facing from other players and the hostile environment itself. ArdyIRL is instantly so much more approachable in both of these aspects compared to other extraction shooters like Escape from Tarkov and Hunt Showdown. And as much as I can talk about how I really enjoyed all the progression systems in place below ground in Speranza, it's the gameplay that happens topside where the real innovation happens. When I sat down with Virgil Watkins, the design director of ArdyIRL, we chatted about the change when ArdyIRL shifted from a PvE game to a PvPvE extraction game, and the difficulty of getting that balance right. He said that keeping the Ark as the main threat, no matter what, is the key. That even when the player with the strongest gear in the raid will be fearful of an encounter with the AI in the game, the focus shifts from I'm gonna kill everyone in this raid and take all their loot to I need to be careful and I can't ever stop being careful. This same sentiment was repeated by Nora during our interview at TwitchCon, where we spoke about the necessity of PvP at all in the game. And while you don't need to engage in PvP at all to progress through the main quests or any of the functions of the game, the threat of other players alongside the threat of Ark provides a high stress and high stakes environment which helps to drive every single decision that you make topside and make sure that those decisions carry impact. This was one of the core design pillars of ArdyIRL that Virgil told me about during our conversation. The design documentation, even in the earliest iterations after the shift to the extraction genre, explicitly stated that the goal of having powerful enemy AI encounters was to force players to make the consideration of creating fragile alliances with other players that you might not trust fully, but in the heat of the moment, both of your lives might depend on it. When it comes to balancing gear and weapons, when I was talking to Virgil and Nora, they gave me really good insight to the thought process behind the weapon systems that are in the game and how they all actually stem from the design and style of the world around the player as it's presented to us. Robert Samlin, the art director of ArdyIRL, told me how everything in the game is really meant to fit into the world itself, including the weapons. Sure, you could make excuses for finding a large cache of military weapons, but would that really be believable? Making weapons that look like they were built by hand with scraps and junk though? that's grounded. So coming off of those design choices, you can start to think about how they'll actually work in the game. You have two systems for making weapons better: attachments and upgrading the weapon directly. Attachments can provide certain buffs, mods can change the weapon with trade-offs, but upgrading the weapons make them more reliable as a unit. Smoother reloads, better handling, but the same damage as the level 1. That means that a stronger player with a fully kitted level 4 gun won't inherently be more of a threat than someone with the base level 1 version, but there's still enough of a reason to put resources into the weapons that you care about. This instantly fixes the Chad problem that other extraction shooters are known for. But again, weapons and other players aren't even the most important thing to talk about in Arc Raiders. But just like players aren't the most important enemy in Arc Raiders, weapons aren't even the most important thing to think about when it comes to what you're bringing topside. In Arc Raiders, the utility, the throwables, and equipables are really the game changers. These are the things that are going to allow you to survive your engagements with both players and arcs alike. Just as Robert described before, these items are all designed to look like you either took them off of a dead robot or that you put together out of trash. But trust me, these things are not trash. Impact grenades can one-tap most of the smaller arcs. Smoke grenades can help you have an escape and break line of sight with arcs. Barricades and door blocks can be game changers in PvP for readily taking control over any given fight. And don't even get me started on the jammer that makes you invisible to arc robots. I distinctly remember my first time using one during a fight between another squad and a bastion. I pulled out the jammer and made my way past the bastion, putting this mini-boss in between the other squad and myself. That allowed me enough time to rotate all the way around while they were busy and pick them off once they finished fighting the bastion for me. And while in other extraction shooters, I might have wanted to talk about how maybe that squad had insane high-tier armor or weapons that could one-tap me, or insanely expensive high-tier loot, in Arc Raiders, none of that really mattered. Yeah, I got the level 4 Pharaoh and a heavy shield, but surviving that encounter meant that I got to take the Bastion cell that I might have really needed for a workshop upgrade or a quest. And that was the part that mattered to me. And it was during this experience that I really started to understand why Arc Raiders feels different, and what they were able to do with the balance of the loot and the economy. Loot is another somewhat difficult thing to get right in this genre. Sure, you can have a shopping list where you enter a raid looking for specific items for a quest or a craft, but if there's too many items in the game, it becomes overwhelming for the player to track. But if there's too few items in the game, that the game feels like there's no real reason to take what you don't need, or that there's nothing to search for. The loot in Arc Raiders really hits a sweet spot between function and identity. It always felt like I knew where I needed to go to look for certain things, especially given the fact that the map tells you where you can find certain types of items, which took away a lot of the chore work that this usually feels like in other extraction shooters. In Arc Raiders, you need certain items to upgrade your weapons, complete quests, craft consumables, and also for your base. Upgrade your benches to build better augments to be able to carry stronger shields and more loot, and if you keep your shield for a long time, you'll have to spend resources to keep it repaired. If you want to craft stronger weapons, you'll have to find those blueprints topside and bring them back in order to unlock them. Every single time I left Speranza to go topside into the Rust Belt, it really did feel like I had something to do. And in all my time playing, I never felt like I had nothing to show for my time spent in raid. The loot was always worth it, and always bringing me closer to whatever goal I was chasing. And the adrenaline-fueled adventures that I had to go through in order to bring that loot back were memorable, fun, and enjoyable. Even when I got my ass handed to me and my heavy shield stolen in the first 3 minutes of a raid by a dev who's been building and playing this game for 4 years. You know who you are. It's a combination of how all of these systems are so delicately balancing against one another to make the entirety of Arc Raiders stand out as a whole. So what is it specifically that Arc Raiders is doing differently then? When I was talking with Nora about how it all came together, she talked about how important each piece of Arc Raiders was to one another, and how they all build atop each other. It all starts with the beautiful and immersive design of the world of Arc Raiders itself, grounded in its own aesthetic, utilizing in-world cues to communicate to the player what's happening, rather than using cluttered UI. Within that, the Arc robots reacting dynamically to the world around them, giving the player the ability to intuitively understand that their actions will cause certain reactions, knowing where in the world they need to go to get their loot, and then coming back around to the balance of the PvPvE itself to give stakes and pressure to each raid and make that loot matter. Everything builds off of itself in a way that I haven't seen before, and I've been playing Tarkov since 2017, and yeah, while that game has immersion, high stakes, and great loot, it's a completely different beast to understand when it comes to balance with ammo types, versus armor and the amount of grind it takes to level traders, to get regular access to high-tier loot, the quests that require PvP, etc. There's a reason that Tarkov PvE became so popular, and it wasn't just the cheaters in that game. Arc Raiders provides an answer to every pain point I've ever felt with Tarkov with respect to both gameplay and progression. When it comes to gameplay, I really can't overstate how important it is that the arcs are as powerful as they are. No matter how strong or chatted up I was going into a raid, I always cared about the arc robots, and that's something that really cannot be overstated. As far as progression is concerned, this is something that neither myself or anyone else can really speak to until we've had a chance to truly sit down and grind out all the systems in place. But there are a lot of systems in place, and at least at the beginning, it does feel like there are so many things to look forward to working on. Upgrading the raider den and crafting stations, leveling up and speccing out our raiders, experiencing long-term character progression, raider deck progression, and of course expedition projects amidst the live service. I am really excited to see how this game evolves over time, but a lot of that is going to have to do with how satisfying the wipe and progression system is with these expeditions. But expeditions aren't the only thing this live service is going to have to offer. We have 4 maps at launch with the Dam, Buried City, Spaceport, and Blue Gate, and of course we have rumors of the fabled Stella Montis. No matter what happens with more maps, more content, more arcs, more weapons, all these things that could get added over time, I feel like Arc Raiders is releasing in an incredibly strong starting point. And as of right now, not even the developers can know where it's going to end up towards the end of its planned 10-year life cycle. But the reason that Arc Raiders hits different for me and for so many people is because of its bold commitment to immersion and how the stakes of its PvPvE gameplay loop make me feel engaged with that immersion. With interesting lore and world building happening on top of it all, I feel so strongly drawn into this fantasy that Embark Studios has created, and I'm so happy that it's finally here for everyone to experience. But what are your thoughts? What part of Arc Raiders makes it stand out to you? And is Arc Raiders your first extraction shooter, or have you tried them before? Let me know in the comments because I really want to know how you all feel and if you're drawn to Arc Raiders as strongly as I am. Leave a like and subscribe if you like this video, and check me out on Twitch where I'll be streaming this game and the finals very regularly. Thank you so much for watching, and don't worry, you'll see me around.